The Klementinum is a building complex facing the Marion Square and just sits across the Old Town Bridge Tower. The area is roughly 2 hectares and the buildings have largely been preserved since the 1500s by the Jesuits, Dominicans, and the many university staff and scholars that have passed through the halls. Today, the Klementinum is not just associated with the National Library, but rather also with the Mirror Chapel, where you can attend operas and orchestra performances in the guided tour for the Astronomical Tower and Baroque Library. On entering the National Library, you walk past the coat and locker room and go directly to the main reference front desk. I was immediately greeted by rows and rows of cabinets that followed an older reference classification system in Czech. The PC terminals in the hall were powered down and not in use because of the pandemic. Visitors can make use of the library, visit the old books exhibition, and spend some time in the reading rooms by paying a small fee of 10 Czech korunas. However, I had to go out and come back because the head librarian required everyone to have an FFFP2 PPE mask. The National Library has a reference center and reading rooms for periodicals, natural sciences, and reference resources. Even with the pandemic, they've kept the displays for the manuscripts and early printed books open, as well as the music department reading room. They also have a dedicated Slavonic library. The halls were clearly old but well maintained. I saw a few international students taking advantage of the free Wi-Fi in the reading rooms. The first floor showcased old books published back when Czechia was still Czechoslovakia, and books published in the 1600s. Most of the older books on display were Czech writings on foreign cultures and lands. There was an inner courtyard for visitors, but no one was there when I visited. Some of the rooms were previously used as computer classrooms, but they were no longer in use. In fact, only the reading rooms were in use. I visited all 4 floors, but most of the areas were either locked or empty. The highlight of the library is the summer refectory, which is now the general reading room. The stone portal entrance had 2 marble lavabos wash basins with a trio of angels. There are numerous old stucco pieces as well. The massive reading room had high ceilings and reading desks, and the western and eastern walls had bookshelves with old editions of books. The walls are lined with numerous stone human and animal motifs. The vault of the refectory is decorated with allegorical figures representing 16 virtues. At the end of the summer refectory is a tiled stove. In the background is an impressive fresco of Christ's visit to Lazarus' home. In my 2 visits to the library, I was surprised with the number of international and local students who made use of the summer refectory for studying. As it turned out, the National Library had largely digitized all their collections. Signs encouraged library members to make use of the digital collections. There are numerous banners indicating the URL of the digital collections and how to avail of library services. Even with the pandemic, the National Library was left mostly open to the public simply because the library's reading room and Wi-Fi services were popular. I was also surprised as to how comfortable the library was. The halls didn't have the smell of age and was surprisingly well heated. Although impressed that their collections were mostly digitized, I was disappointed that the library didn't feel like the traditional libraries you would find at, say, Oxford or Cambridge, and that much of the building was left unused. Nevertheless, at 10 Czech korunas, the National Library was still worth a visit, just to step into corridors that reflected a different time and milieu.